Oh, man. Hey there. It's 5:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this very hour, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz joins us on the big show. It's coming up at 5:30. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Let me take one more call on this military issue. I've got Dave calling in from Silver Spring on line 4. We just had Tommy Tuberville, Dave, a few minutes ago, just to remind the audience, talking about why he's not letting the Biden administration just ram through every military promotion. He says, hey, stop the abortion crap, and then I'll let the generals get through. But, Dave, your thoughts on this, sir?
Hey, Vince. I'm having trouble understanding why not promoting a brig general to a major general will be more deleterious to our war effort than dismissing a bunch of skilled warfighters because they didn't want to take the COVID jab.
Fantastic question. Yeah, why is our military readiness more imperiled by not installing yet another general? But then you've got this situation where you're throwing people out because they didn't get the COVID jab, and they registered religious objections, and the military just stampeded all over them and said, "No, you're getting out of the military." You're totally right, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, and Vince, at the top of the hour, you had a soundbite from Kamala Harris saying that the elections yesterday proved that people don't want the government telling a woman what she can do with her body. But my wife, who coincidentally is a woman, works for Montgomery County, and she was told that if she didn't take the COVID jab, she would lose her job. So what is this dingbat talking about? Because the government quite clearly told my wife and many other women what they have to do with their bodies.
Yes, that's right. Democrats love telling people what to do with their bodies. It's kind of their thing. It's like their whole history, actually. Dave, thank you. It's such a smart point on so many smart points in a single phone call. I appreciate that. That was just a minute and a half on the air. That guy's brilliant. Okay, let me move on now. I do have some breaking news for you this afternoon as it relates to the Biden family. Subpoenas away. Oversight Committee has now sent subpoenas to Biden family members and a key associate to defend their foreign business dealings. The House Oversight Committee, the Daily Caller reports, is officially sending subpoenas to multiple Biden family members and a key business associate to have them appear for congressional depositions. The Oversight Committee is sending subpoenas to Hunter Biden, his uncle James Biden, and former business associate Rob Walker to begin answering questions about the Biden family's foreign business enterprise. The committee making this announcement today. In fact, I believe I do have a bit of audio for you here. Let's see if is there any words to this? Okay, it's cut 14. My trusty producer, Corey, tells me. Here we go. This is cut 14, the House Oversight Committee. Let me first play. You're right. You do have good audio from me. That's from the White House. This is first James Comer today. This is the audio of him signing the subpoenas. This may just be the sound of a pen on paper. Let's see here. Stand by. Where's this thing? I'm playing it, but it's not playing. It doesn't matter. It is just pen on paper, so that's irrelevant. Here's the White House today reacting to this news.
The House Oversight Committee has issued subpoenas for Hunter Biden, James Biden, and Biden family business associate Rob Walker. Do you have a comment on that?
So look, as you just mentioned, it's just breaking, so I don't have this information in front of me.
There's no way I could possibly handle this. I'm not accustomed to thinking on my own. I'll have somebody else think for me, and I'll get back to you with a written statement.
Just hearing from you, certainly I would refer you to any of the personal representatives on this, on your question.
What is she, the White House switchboard? Like, what is her job exactly? Like, when you speak to her, she's like, I will direct your call to the correct person. She's like one of those robots you talk to. I can help you with that. It's like when you call the cable company, they're like, okay, you need help with your subscription. I can help you with that. Let me direct your call to the correct department. And then they send you off. This is her, except worse.
But I will have to say something that I've said many times. This is an investigation that has been going on for a year now and has turned up zero evidence of wrongdoing by the president.
And so when she tries to think of an answer, she just lies. Like she's immediately like, well, if I'm going to say anything, how about this? I'll just lie to you.
Because there is none. But Republicans continue to double down on a baseless smear campaign against the president and his family.
Yeah, did you hear her? She doubled down on the word baseless. She said it twice in a row. Speaking of the Biden family crimes and then the subsequent cover-up, you know that yesterday the Delaware U.S. Attorney, David Weiss, had some testimony before House Republicans, and he admitted that he asked to become a so-called special attorney in the spring of 2022. Did you know this? That was last year spring. It was, very importantly, before the statute of limitations on his Burisma income taxes expired. So Hunter Biden was still in the zone to be charged with an important tax crime for financial corruption in Ukraine. And, oh, whoops, it lapsed. Oh, well, I guess better luck next time. Next time he commits a crime, and we'll try and get him. So they ran it through the statute of limitations. It collapsed. And now what's funny about this, not funny, but specific about this, is everything is legalese, right? It's always about wording with these clowns. Everything's semantics. So Weiss requested a status of special attorney under Section 515. I'm not going to bother digging too deep on the specifics here other than to say it's a different thing than special counsel. But the word games that they've been playing, I never requested special counsel status. No, he never requested special counsel status. No, special counsel status was never requested. He requested to be a special attorney. A separate title, but functionally, it has the same effect of allowing him to pursue charges against Hunter Biden outside of his home district of Delaware. He wanted to be a special attorney. He made the request in spring of 2022. Guess what happened with that request? Oh, well, the Justice Department never got over litigating it. They just let it go. They never gave him an answer. They tabled it. They're like, okay, we got your request, thanks. And they never got back to him. So now we're all to believe that this makes sense, that this is just a totally normal thing, like the Justice Department. They just let his request for special attorney go on and on and on, way past the statute of limitations for Hunter Biden's crimes. And then when he starts telling Congress, like, well, yeah, I've always had complete control over this. I never requested to be a special counsel until August of this year. And when I did, Attorney General Merrick Garland said I could. And boom, boom, boom. That's it. Everything is on the up and up. Don't ask any more questions. Here, he admitted under oath this week before Congress, yeah, I did ask to become a special attorney. Isn't that amazing? It's par for the course. Totally typical. It's all word games and obfuscation and corruption and cover-ups up and down all the way through. And it always benefits the Biden family. If you're a Republican grandma waving an American flag within 10 miles of the United States Capitol building, you're probably behind bars right now. If you're Hunter Biden and you have a massive laundry list of crimes that you've committed against the United States of America to enrich your own family using your father, Joe Biden, as he was vice president, beyond that, you're fine. The statute of limitations is going to run out. Everybody's going to play a bunch of different games. You'll have people making bureaucratic filings. I'd like to be a special attorney, please. And then it never gets fulfilled over the course of years. And by that time, the game is over. You've run out the clock. What a nice advantage to have that D at the end of your name. What a nice advantage. So that's that. Also, Weiss's opening statement yesterday, he once again reiterated, I didn't request to become special counsel until August of 2023. And then under questioning from Jim Jordan and company, he said, well, yeah, I did ask to be a special attorney in March of 2022. So that's the truth there. I've got also a bunch of other important audio for you today. Other people in the Biden administration worth scrutinizing include Alejandro Mayorkas. He appeared before the United States Senate today. He was asked by Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia to name a specific, tangible policy change that would save the southern border from the invasion we're currently experiencing. Listen to his answer.
So give me 2 or 3 specific examples that we could do, policy change, that would make a difference.
Senator, I think the president on day one set forth a blueprint that...
Amnesty. The day one policy of the Biden administration was amnesty. They said nobody will be deported for the first 100 days of this administration. Even that was a lie. It was literally the entire administration.
Well, pick 3 out of there that you think are the best, the most meaningful.
Senator, I would be quite hesitant to rank which ones are the best.
I can't pick my favorite.
But I continue to adhere.
Honestly, can the room burst out into laughter at this point? Like, I just couldn't name my top 3. There's so many great options here for securing our border.
The approach that when we're speaking of a system that has not been reformed since 1996, that we need to reform it from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's like a hostage crisis. They want you to grant amnesty to 10 million people right now, or whatever the number is. There's a grant amnesty, then we'll talk about border security. Then we'll talk about it, but won't actually do it. And then we'll be doing this again another decade from now. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith of Mississippi wanted to make sure she didn't have any wax in her ears today. She said, "Did you say the border's not a disaster?"
So the situation at the border, you're saying, is not a disaster.
That is correct.
Okay, so when does it become a disaster? What's your threshold for disaster, Alejandro Mayorkas, if that's even your real name? When does it become a disaster? What else are you lying to us about? Senator Katie Britt of Alabama. All the Alabama senators are out to play today. She says, hey, should we build a border wall? You know, what was the cost estimate on a border wall when Donald Trump was trying to build one? $6 billion? Was that the number? It's chump change. That's what, $6 billion. That's what we're paying for postage stamps in Ukraine right now. $6 billion? That's nothing.
Do you believe that a border wall is part of the answer? Yes or no?
No.
No.
What a scam. What a scam. All right. Thanks, Alex Mayorkas. And then we've got another wild one today for you. Hillary Clinton stopped by The View. She's always been perfect for that, hasn't she? She's built for The View. The View is just basically her, except less talented. Hillary Clinton joins all of her acolytes at The View. Here's Alyssa Farah talking to her today, asking, do you think Joe Biden is the best to take on Trump?
But is Joe Biden, when 4 out of 5 battleground polls have him losing to Trump, the best person to take him on?
Yes, he is. And he's done a really good job as
president. She lies so casually these days. Like, normally, if you tell a lie, right, if you've ever lied before, and I know you probably haven't done it often, but whenever you try it out, don't you normally kind of hesitate before you dive right in on the lie? You're like, you just take a gulp, like, all right, here we go. I'm going to mislead this person.
Person to take him on.
Yes, he is.
No hesitancy whatsoever.
And he's done a really good job as president. And, you know, I like to evaluate people
He's done
in public.
a really good job. Laugh tracks everywhere. This is there's an actual studio audience in that room. Not a single person laughed. That was like a spit take.
President. And, you know, I like to evaluate people in public life on what have they gotten done for us. Yeah. And, you know, you look at his record.
He's enriched every rich Democrat I know.
Despite all of the odds, he's really produced positive results.
What is she talking about? Joy Behar is, I don't know if she even can hear herself. But she believes that the elections in the United States are rigged, and she was very eager to tell Hillary Clinton about this today.
That's funny.
You know,
by the way, you know, Mrs. Clinton did win the popular vote.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I continue to believe that you won. I don't care what they say.
I continue to believe you won. She means the Electoral College vote as well. I don't care what they say, says Joy Behar. I don't care what they say. I believe our elections are rigged. She declared openly and brazenly today on The View. On The View. Hillary had some words for Trump supporters. Remember, she wants them reprogrammed. That was what she said a couple weeks ago. What did she say today?
Look, there are people who still, you know, support him. They say they're going to vote for him. We just have to limit the number of those people.
Okay, I mean, just to remind you, Democrats talk all the time. They say Republicans are trying to suppress votes. They're trying to keep people from voting. Hillary Clinton just straight up said, we need to limit the number of people who vote for Trump.
Look, there are people who still, you know, support him. They say they're going to vote for him. We just have to limit the number of those people and reach out to those who are having second thoughts, who say, well, you know, I thought he would have done better.
Perhaps we can shoot them as they head to the polls. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. If you guys have other ideas, you know, what? We have to limit the number of people who vote for Trump because, of course, the election was stolen from me in 2016. Hillary's got some other thoughts, and they involve Hitler. That's coming up. Well, hilarious. Clinton was on this morning on The View. And, of course, it wouldn't be a Hillary Clinton appearance without a reference to Hitler. Here she is. She's obsessed with Hitler. Let's see here. Hillary Clinton.
People would get legitimately elected, and then they would try to do away with elections and do away with opposition and do away with a free press.
She's describing her party. You're not detecting any of this? People try and get elected, and then they meddle with our democratic institutions. They disrupt the ability for voters to render judgments. They shut down the ability for people to get accurate information. They try and rig the system to their benefit. This is what she's describing. It's her party.
And you could see it in countries where, well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right.
Right? And so all of a sudden, somebody with those tendencies, those dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies would be like, oh, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to throw these people in jail. And they didn't usually telegraph that. Trump is telling us what he intends to do.
They're so brazen. Like the words that are coming, she's describing her party right now. You have American patriots locked in jail cells for waving American flags. Could you imagine if that was the world we lived in? Hillary Clinton asked with a straight face. Coming up, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz joins us just moments away. Don't miss it. Big conversation ahead. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 5:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. A little bit of news to share with you today. The House Judiciary Committee held a hearing talking about freedom of speech on college campuses, and a number of Jewish students were testifying about the rise of anti-Semitism, and also there was some testimony about anti-conservative bias on college campuses. These places have become very censorious. They don't abide, conservative speech or Jewish students on campus, at least not expressing your views. So as they were doing this, a bunch of anti-Israel lunatics interrupted the whole hearing. So you have Jewish students testifying about the climate on campus, like, hey, they're not very accommodating to our views. And then a bunch of anti-Israel, anti-Semitic idiots all start jumping up and screaming in the middle of the hearing today.
How is that the same fucking thing? 4,000 Afghan children and students are dead. What is your right to speech if all of us are not free? What does it mean if they cannot communicate?
Where is the hearing for Palestinian students? Palestinians are first.
And this is what they always do. As soon as one of them gets taken out of the room, gets led out of the room, as the police gently and gingerly take the anti-Israel protesters out of the room, the next one stands up and starts screaming their head off. So everybody was escorted out. Nobody's going to be locked up in the D.C. gulag. They're not going to serve years in prison. But there you have Jewish students testifying today before Congress and getting interrupted by anti-Israel crazy people. Amazing. It's just amazing. Let's bring in now Senator Ted Cruz, who is joining us on the phone. He's got a brand new book called Unwoke, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. And boy, we're seeing a lot of it. Senator Cruz, good to have you with us today, sir.
Vince, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Sir, on this issue, on Israel and Hamas, I'm looking at a recent poll that said that, voters over the age of 65, 95% of them say that they side with Israel, not Hamas. But once you get down to the young age, 18 to 24, 52% side with Israel, 48% side with the terror group Hamas. It feels like it goes right to the point of your book, sir.
Well, unfortunately, that's exactly right. That what this book focuses on, Unwoke, is how the radical left has captured the major institutions in our country. And each chapter of the book focuses on a different institution. So it starts with universities, which I call the Wuhan lab of the woke virus.
Yeah.
That's where the virus was created. It's where it mutated. It's where it spread. And then each subsequent chapter takes another institution so that I focus on K through 12 education, on journalism, on government, on big business, on big tech, on entertainment, Hollywood, TV, movies, sports, music, and on science. And then finally, the last chapter of the book is on China, which I describe as a nexus connecting all of these. And if you look at the rabid anti-Semitism we're seeing on campus, and deep within the Democrat Party. It is a direct manifestation of this cultural Marxist takeover that is unfolded. And sadly, the Marxists always start with the children. That has been their approach in every country. And young people are being indoctrinated. They're indoctrinated in K through 12. They're indoctrinated in universities. And the reason the left, their anti-Semitism is coming out so profoundly right now is as you know, Karl Marx, in laying out communism, his worldview explained in the Communist Manifesto is that there is an irreconcilable conflict between oppressors and victims. And he viewed it on a socioeconomic spectrum, with the oppressors being the owners of capital and the victims being the proletariat, the working people. And his solution was a violent revolution of the proletariat to overthrow the oppressors and use government power to forcibly redistribute the wealth from the oppressors to the victims. And I describe in the book Unwoke how, starting in the 1960s and 70s, the Marxists infiltrated our universities, particularly our elite universities, and became tenured professors and administrators. And there, Marxism mutated. And so one of the first mutations was critical race theory. It uses the same communist lens of the battle between oppressors and victims, but instead of being socioeconomic, it focuses on race, and it posits that America is irredeemably racist, and the solution is for the victims defined by race to violently overthrow the oppressors defined by race. And we've seen it mutate to then be based on gender and sexual orientation and gender identity. And the reason today that the extreme left is so viciously anti-Semitic and anti-Israel is that they have coded Jews as oppressors, and they have coded Palestinians as victims. And so the cultural Marxists support the violent revolution of the victims, the Palestinians, against the oppressors. And it's why, for example, you see on college campuses, at Harvard, my alma mater, 35 student groups signed an asinine statement saying that every murder, every rape, every child who was slaughtered by the Hamas terrorists are 100% the fault of Israelis, because cultural Marxists support violent revolution against people they've decided are oppressors.
Yes. Now, I've noticed that this Marxist framework allows the so-called oppressed to literally do anything they want. They can commit any atrocity they want. There's no limit to it, and it's all justified. Oppressors are guilty of everything and need to be taken down and destroyed. And this flies directly in the face of what Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal. Under this framework, men are not created equal at all, actually. And it is a direct attack, in my view, on the United States.
It is, and the cultural Marxists hate America. One of the things I discuss actually in the K through 12 chapter is about what's being taught to our kids. And I recount a conversation with my daughters where years ago, one of my daughters came home, and it was Columbus Day, and she said to me, "Oh, Christopher Columbus is evil." And that's what she was being taught, that he was a racist, genocidal maniac. And I described, I said, look, I wasn't deeply vested in defending Christopher Columbus as a glorious hero. But I asked her, I said, well, we do have a federal holiday named after him. Do we typically name federal holidays after racist, genocidal maniacs? And I said, might you be able to think of any redeeming features about him? Perhaps the courage it took to board a rickety ship and sail west into the horizon off of what you thought was the end of the world, that intrepid explorer spirit, is that anything to be admired? And yes, it's true that he and his sailors carried from Europe, that they spread to the New World, and it caused death. But it was also the 15th century. And I said, is it relevant that nobody then knew what a germ was, and so they had no idea they were carrying diseases with them? And I described that story because then not long after it was Thanksgiving, and she repeated the same thing, said, oh, Thanksgiving is all about the Pilgrims oppressing the Native Americans. And this is the garbage that's being taught to our kids. And
Yes.
the point I made in the book is those two illustrations that come straight from the cultural Marxist playbook, they come down to one central antecedent question. Was the Western settlement of the New World a good thing or a bad thing? Was the founding of the United States of America a good thing or a bad thing? And the cultural Marxists believe it was a terrible thing. And we need to engage on that central fight, because I believe America has been the greatest force for good, has liberated more prisoners, has alleviated more poverty, has produced more prosperity than any nation in the history of the world. And we've got to defend it.
You know, one of the other pieces here, Senator, that I've noticed about the way they argue is that they're completely incoherent, and they will exclude very inconvenient facts. So they'll create this structure where they say, well, these systems are racist. They've been racist for a long time. I heard Cori Bush this very week say that Congress once abided slavery. That's why this institution's attacking Rashida Tlaib. It's also crazy. And I'm sitting here going, well, wait a second. If you're going to attack institutions for their historic wrongs, why wouldn't you attack your own party? The Democrats have been the source of all the racism and prejudice that we can lay out in American history. In fact, Columbus Day, which you just referenced, was started in reaction to a Democrat lynch mob killing Italians in New Orleans in the late 1800s. And so we're just sitting here and now we hold Christopher Columbus in contempt because Democrats lynched Italians, and that's why we established Columbus Day? It doesn't even make any sense.
Well, and look, the Democrats' history on race, as you rightly noted, is disgraceful and shameful. It is Democrats who founded the Ku Klux Klan, exclusively Democrats. It is Democrats who wrote the Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws were designed to prevent African Americans from voting, from engaging in civic life, and to prevent them from voting Democrats out of power. And it is Democrats who today widely embrace racism. Just yesterday, the United States Senate confirmed as a federal judge a woman who is Asian American who wrote in law school that Asian Americans, to be sufficiently woke, although she didn't use the term woke because it was 20 years ago, but to be, I think she said enlightened, must support discrimination, racial discrimination against Asian Americans. That if you don't support discrimination against Asian Americans, you are not enlightened, and instead you have given in to the colonial class. And it's complete Marxist garbage. And yet every single Democrat in the Senate voted to confirm as a federal judge someone who explicitly advocates racial discrimination.
All right, so Senator Cruz, let's apply all of what you're telling us to what we saw yesterday. We saw a bunch of elections play out in the United States yesterday. Yeah. Democrats overperformed any reasonable person's expectations because you think that everything's so bad because of Democratic governance that maybe some Republicans would win. Unfortunately, it didn't really happen on a big scale. So do you think that what you write about in your book, Unwoke, and what's happened to America because of these cultural Marxists is related to what we saw in this election yesterday?
So I do, in that the left understands the power of ideas, and they systematically seized the organs of transmission of ideas, and Republicans systematically undervalue the importance of ideas. So for example, in my chapter on journalism, every chapter I lay out concrete steps, practical steps that are important to retaking these institutions. And so in the chapter on journalism, one of the things I encourage is for Republicans or libertarians who've done well in business, who have resources, to invest and buy organs of transmission of ideas. Buy a newspaper, buy a radio station, buy a TV station, buy a movie studio, buy a book publishing house. The left does this all the time. And so you look a few years ago, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post for $300 million. Now, Bezos didn't do so because he was bullish on the long-term profitability of print media.
Yeah.
He did it because he wanted to own the commanding heights of public discourse. And the problem is for conservatives, that the business people with the resources to compete at that level, they look at it and say, well, I could earn an extra 0.5% rate of return on manufacturing widgets in North Carolina, so I'll do that.
Right.
And that's how we've abandoned the entire terrain of ideas. And in my chapter on big tech, I talk about how Elon Musk bought Twitter. The most important development for free speech in decades was Musk's putting his money where his mouth is, and we need more people to do that, to fight back, because through all of these institutions, the cultural Marxists are engaged in indoctrination, and it has resulted in our country being in the mess we're in right now.
Yeah, indeed. So in addition to trying to play the short game as aggressively as possible and win some elections soon, 2024 is so critical. We've got to play the long game and restore the country and get, especially our young people, back on the right track. To be interested once again in empiricism, logic, reason, and to be able to think for themselves.
Amen. So I will say the book came out yesterday. It's available in bookstores all across America. You can also get it right now on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Books A Million. It's a bestseller on Amazon, which drives the New York Times crazy. And look, the book is designed, it's not a dry academic treatise. It is filled with stories. It's filled with real practical tips for, number one, understanding how did they succeed? How did they take over corporate America? 10 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. I break down precisely how they did it, but then I give real and practical solutions for how we take it back. So I want to encourage your listeners, go and buy a copy of the book. Buy it right now on Amazon. And in fact, Christmas is coming up. This book makes a fantastic Christmas gift. Buy a copy for your mom. Buy a copy for your brother. Buy a copy for your kids. Your kids need to understand what's happening. And the reason that I wrote this book is I think if we don't act, and if we don't act now to stop the destruction of these institutions, I think we will lose our nation.
I'm afraid you're right. In fact, I'm confident you're right. Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas. Sir, thank you. Congrats on the new book. It's Unwoke, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. We'll talk to you again very soon, sir. Thank you. Hey, I just want to make a note. If you'd like to join me tomorrow in Rockville, Maryland, I'll be out there tomorrow morning alongside Valor for their Operation Raise the Roof program. They're putting the finishing touches right now on a brand new roof for Army Specialist James Carter. He goes by Jimmy, not the president. Jimmy Carter. He's a Vietnam veteran who's responsible for readily providing fully functional equipment for the Nike Hercules, the anti-aircraft missile system. These great veterans that Valor takes care of are honestly just great American heroes, and these are such nice events. It is so wonderful to support them. This is going to be taking place in Rockville, again, tomorrow from 11 to 1 p.m. at the Carter residence. They're going to be dedicating the roof there. It goes from 11 to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So what I'll do, instead of just reading the address out over the air, which I could do, is open to the public. You could show up there. I'll read it right now. It's 2321 Pinneberg Avenue in Rockville. Pinneberg, 2321 Pinneberg Avenue. But what I'll do is I'll post this to my Twitter account here just in the next few minutes. I'll get it up on the website, the whole press release, so you can see the details about Jimmy's honorable service to our country and how he's receiving this brand new roof. These are really just touching events. Always so many great patriots show up to them. And if you'd like to be there, by all means, come on out, say hello. 11 a.m. to 1 tomorrow in Rockville. The details will be up on my Twitter account at Vince Coglianese on what is now known as X. Hey, what do you know? We're running up against it. The great one, Mark Levin, is up here next on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.